Okay. Well, we're live now, so.
All right. Well, hello and welcome to Politically Incorrect Knitters. My name is Ann Pinkova, joined as always by the lovely Deplorable Knitter.
Hi, guys. It has been a week. I know we promised a guest, and for reasons it didn't work out. She's hopefully joining us next week, but thank God it didn't work out because my week proceeded to go right into the toilet pretty quickly. It's there. Yeah, yeah. It was not fantastic this week. Was yours good, Anne?
Mine was fine. Mine
Oh,
was.
good.
It was funny though because the day before it's like, by the way, guest canceled, not working. Okay, I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I called Anne. She was at work, and I don't call her like when I would normally call her because she's always at work. But the guest had canceled, and I hadn't talked to her yet. And then my kid threw up, and I was like, you know what? This isn't gonna work. Like we're not gonna. We always tape on Thursdays or almost always, and I was like, you know what? We're done. Maybe we won't even have an episode this week. I have like here's my plate and here's everything I have to do falling off of it. And Anne's like, hey, let's go live. And I'm like, oh, sure, yeah.
Well, it would be the first week that we miss. I don't want to break our record.
We actually missed a week at Christmas time, I think. I mean, we did do the Christmas episode, so maybe that like counted,
Yeah,
but we
yeah.
didn't do the formal episode. But yeah, no, I get it. But I have just been so my kid hasn't been terribly ill, but sick enough, sick enough that like life has been weird here, and so that's what was happening, and that's why we're doing this today, and we don't have our guest. So, but Anne wanted to talk about her beautiful shawl that she's been working on. So what you got, girl?
I did, but should we talk first about our new sponsor?
Oh, I totally forgot. Yeah, thank goodness you're on the ball.
No, that we do have a new sponsor.
I'm
Y'all know
super
her.
excited.
It is Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. She's out of Colorado. She's lovely, and she has an excellent selection of wool. And the wool that she has that, very, she aligns with our values. Everyone, that she's very much a emphasis on try to have things made in the USA, and if it's not made in the USA, it's made in like England. We're not doing any Chinese sweatshop labor here. We're very but
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
she has a specific coupon code for us that is PIK as in politically incorrect knitters, PIK deplorables 20 for 20% off on her shop, which is an excellent deal. So please
Awesome.
check her out.
And she has been uploading new colorways quite a lot. Like every time I go on Instagram, I see that she's been dyeing again, and I wonder how the woman has the time to do it for real. Um, but yeah, so she has generously joined with us to help us get our website up and running and to give you guys a cool discount. So
Yeah.
win all around for everyone. Um, yeah. So what you got going on there, girl? I'm trying to take something off of this. So
Right. You're trying to finish up a wedding gift last minute. So
yeah, I've got a
or
shower.
shower.
I have a new fancy shirt on. See, ooh, I went shopping.
Ooh, fancy.
But we can only be on for like an extra like a half hour because yeah, I have to get kids ready, I have to go to a shower, I have to drive an hour away. So life, like I said, it's been a week. But let's see your shawl.
All right. So this is the I said that the Stephen West shawl, which took me like was a whole ordeal to just get to the pattern. And when I last showed it, it was just like a little tiny bit. So let me get the right way up. But it is, oops. Let's get that all evened out so you can see it. Should have staged that better. But it is quite lovely.
It is really pretty.
And like, yeah, it is. And another thing though, here, you can see some of the colors a little better if I flip it inside out.
1 second. What's the discount code for Chicken Lady? It's PIK deplorables.
Yep, PIK deplorables 20 is the discount code.
Okay, I'm putting it in the chat because somebody asked. So
Okay.
sorry, I did not mean to interrupt your thing.
That's all right. I actually can't see the chat. No, wait. Yes, I can. There we go. I had the wrong button going. Anyways, so but this shawl, I love this shawl. It's so cool. It's like most Stephen West shawls. It's constructed kind of weirdly. So you had this little fan up here first, and then picked up stitches and everything else. And yeah, it's lovely. It's beautiful. Both of the yarns I spun myself, which is a mess, because I was running out of the brown yarn. And here, let me. Okay, so I was running out of the brown yarn, and again, it was a deal where I only had spun as much was in the bag, and there is no more. And I'm like, this is not enough to finish the shawl with. So it's a local grower. It's like SD Bio Yarns or whatever. Anyways, no matter. But that she had this. The colorway was Squirrel Nutkin, and I really loved it. It was just beautiful. I mean, it's browns, but in there's golden bits and little bits of purple and orange, and it's really beautiful. But then, in addition to that, I had, I went back to her stuff, and she didn't have any more of that. And this was before I even thought of a shawl. And I'm like, oh well, I really like this one. It's not quite the same color, but I'll get it. And I'm like, oh man, I'm running out of yarn for this. So I had to. Here. So here's the roving. The oranges are a little bit brighter, and there's grays instead of purple, and there's brown in there, but it's missing the brassy tone entirely. And it's not as dark either. Here, I can pull it out to. Well, that's the thing though. And then I'm looking at this and see, but this brown here, I had to shred in other roving that I had. So I have this dark brown roving and I had like this little tiny piece of sample that had some yellows in it. And I'm like tearing the yellows away and pulling out the little shiny bits that they had put in for the sample color to get the exact shade, and shredding and blending and trying to get it. And at the end of all that nonsense, I think they're actually fairly close.
It's not bad. I mean, the one is obviously a little bit different, but like because they're tonal, it's not horrible.
Yeah. And here to pull the shawl up again, like there's bits that are much oranger than others. And but yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm going like, oh man, like the colors aren't quite matching. And so I started with the new yarn in this entire section right here. I don't think you can actually tell. Like you have to like really pay attention.
No, I think if you didn't tell us, nobody would ever know.
Right.
And that's the great thing about like some people when they're making stuff, they're like, oh, there's this mistake way up. Nobody is ever going to know unless you say, hey, did you see my mistake right here? Like,
right.
The casual viewer is not going to be like, oh God, Anne, what'd you do?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, because I mean, just as I started things as well, like the purple yarn, I didn't realize, I don't know what happened, but the yarn is like shredding on me. And like, I don't know if like I had knit, I spun it so long ago, I don't know if I had knitted into something and then like had to cut it apart. So there were like little breaks. I'm like, it's weird. I don't know what happened, but anyways, so now I have the third problem where, so now it's part of the shawl where, you have the center bit and you have to make the wings. So I'm only making one wing at a time, which makes sense, except I have to now spin more yarn. So my match has to match my match, has to match my match.
See, this is way too complex. That's why I don't do stuff like you do, because I would be. Yeah, I don't have time for that.
I'm just sitting here like, I hope it works. And then I have the one bit of leftover. My original idea, which I didn't do, was to have like 2 at a time going out, which would, I mean, they're both garter stitch sections, so there wouldn't have been any problem with that. But then I didn't do that. So
I didn't, so.
I didn't. But yeah, I mean, and also it's, they say, oh yeah, there's a lot of ends, so you should probably weave them in as you go. And I'm like, and I'm not going to do that either.
That's for wussies.
Well, and not to be fatalistic about my project, but I'm like, well, if I have to pull the whole thing out, then I don't want to have to. It'd be much easier if I don't weave the ends in. So I'm just helping me in the end. Bye.
Yeah. Sorry. Somebody came in and wanted to know about video games. Very important things to interrupt about. What's the name of your shawl again?
It is the Rockefeller Shawl by Stephen West. And I know it's like poor etiquette to show the pattern, so I'm just gonna be this. But look, Stephen has been staring into my soul this whole time, telling me to finish the dang shawl. So it's just like an intense look. I'm like, okay, shawl is getting finished. I'm having fun.
Cool. So. That looks like fun. I'd love to knit for fun, but life. So do you have any other fancy things happening, or?
No, but besides, that's why I have not finished my Hat for Sailors hat. And I sold yet another Papa hat this week, but luckily I made 2 in a row, so I've like
prepared.
I've knit myself room for other knitting.
See, I like the way you plan ahead. I don't plan ahead, and then, well, so like the shower is a great example. The wedding is for my stepbrother, so it's his fiance that's getting the shower today, and so my stepmom is putting the shower on. I have known about this shower for at least 3 months because she plans ahead. She lets me know because I do work on Saturdays and she wanted to make sure I could come, and right. So I've known for forever. I've had the yarn since she told me. I went and got it right away, and I made this. So this is what I've been doing. So my kid got sick. I had planned to work on this throughout the week and be a normal human and not just spend an entire day crocheting.
Right.
Because of sick kid, there was a barfing incident, and then I ended up sleeping on the floor because of barfing, and just like I said, life went off the rails. So instead of it being a nice little, relaxing crochet I can do in a week, not a big deal, it turned into I spent the entire day yesterday. My mother-in-law, on Thursday, my mom came to help me with the kids because, so my mom helped. And then yesterday, my mother-in-law came, and thank God, because I would never, ever, ever have finished. But see, it's this lovely blanket. It's tan and off-white, and it's chunky, thank goodness, or it would have taken me longer.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, well, it's like 50 inches across and 60 inches tall. It's a throw. It's not a, but it's, yeah. So I still have to make tassels for it. The shower's at noon. So I just finished weaving in the ends though while you were talking about your shawl.
Uh-huh.
So we had that going on. Sue says she's been there and done that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, my one child has been sick they threw up last Friday, and then all week long they've been sick. And then again on Wednesday they threw up again because, let's mix it up a little.
Yeah.
I thought you were getting better and you were at the playground running around like you were insane. So let's go and start over.
That's right.
So this is my
24 Yeah. 24-hour flu bug. That's ridiculous. Why not break it up?
Yeah. Let's have it for like a week. But we've been doing normal things. We went to a birthday party. We went to the amusement park. So Lord only knows what they picked off. So.
Right.
Sorry, I am a downer this day. but thank you. It is a lovely blanket. It needs tassels though, because So the pattern calls for it to like have points on both sides at the same time, but I didn't do that because I'm a rebel. So like if there's a point here, then on the other end it goes up. It's kind of like a giant chevron. You can't really,
Okay.
but it does. And so on the points, I'm going to put tassels. So I have to make 7 of them because they're not, the points aren't even because it's a chevron, so one side has less. So
Right.
that's what's going to happen.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
But it's just been nutty. So we're not going to do a lot of politics today just because I don't know if you guys caught it when I was talking, but my life has been stupid. And so, but there's one thing that's been going on that we need to discuss. So I'm sure that you guys have heard about the heartbeat bill that was passed in Texas, right? Like that was a thing that was going on, and um, there's been some really interesting response in the knitting community because the heartbeat bill has a lot to do. My mic is super muffled. Sorry, it is, but it is. Can you hear me, Ann?
I can hear you.
Okay. Um, I had some stuff up against my computer. Maybe it was covering it. But so obviously when the heartbeat bill passed, the people that wanted to do it are who were so upset about it were obviously knitters because we have an opinion on everything. So
Well, naturally, there, how many people do you know learned how to knit because they were going to have a baby and they wanted to make things?
right, that is a lot of it actually.
It is. And lots of, I mean, the stereotypical grandmothers making a blanket or a little sweater or something for their grandbabies, that it's a, knitting itself being a feminine considered art. And
Yeah, but that those the they've taken it and made it into something else. You know that.
that's true. Well, it's the movement from yes, the mostly feminine art of knitting to yes, the woman studies art of knitting. Like, oh boy.
Yeah, but so there's a lot of the usual suspects. Like Hunter Harrisman came out and said that if you are not pro-choice, not to follow her because
Was she also the one who said that if you one of the ladies, I'm not sure if this was the same one, that if you voted Trump, don't buy my stuff.
yeah, that's her. So
Ah,
she's really she has strong feelings about who should buy her things. So I think that we should respect her and peace. Um, but there's her, and then there's also I was on a thread. Um, my some of my conservative friends were listing off everybody that they've seen that was saying
oh,
who did it. There's another one, but the reason that this really got my attention though is because Nicole Frost from Frost Yarn, she hates us too.
oh.
She's
See,
always
this is one of the excellent things about you staying very informed on the issues. Like, okay, I'm over here half buried in crap that happened in Australia, and you're like, no, wait, Anne, we're a knitting show. There's knitting news. I'm like, okay, Frost Yarns. I have no idea. I have never heard of this woman before in my life. I believe you. I think I flipped over to her Instagram profile because you shared it with me. I'm like, okay, she's someone.
yeah. I mean, she's got more followers than either of us, so whatever. Um, but so the other lady I was looking for is a lady named Thea Coleman, and I guess she her site is Baby Cocktails, and she does a lot of sweaters and stuff. So I hear
Okay.
she's popular among sweater knitters. Since I don't do that, I don't know her. But the one, oh, somebody said her video on YouTube, gross. Yeah, so Nicole Frost put out this video, and in it she talks about her abortions and why it was good for her to have them, and whatever. And while she's doing it, she's really flip, and she's like, "Get ready with me. Oh, look it, I'm going to use this powder." And so I went and had my abortion and blah blah blah. And oh look, I'm going to use this tint now. And it was just the contrast between like putting your makeup on
Mhm.
and talking about your abortions, like just like so every day. Like
Right. And I would also, well, sorry, go
no, no,
first.
no.
No, but I did not watch the video, fortunately.
I did it for you.
You did, and I know you care. But no, I reading her Instagram posts and the way, again, it was flippant but also kind of forceful that it was.
Well, I'm talking about while she was putting her makeup on, just the way she was very like, oh, here's this that I'm going to use next. And talking like just very, the contrast between something that should not be an everyday thing and her doing this very mundane thing just made it
Right.
really yucky to me.
Right. And it's like, well, if you're going to talk about your abortions, one would assume that this would be a fairly personal thing that, bring the mood down a little bit because we're going to talk about something real here. That
Well,
if
I think the reason that they like to do it like that is because it's not a big deal to them. It is just another form of birth control. And so by
see,
making it very mundane, it's making it more acceptable or more, do you get what I'm saying, right?
what while I do understand that, but I'm a little I'm a little bit skeptical on how loosely she's taking it, especially since in her profile or in the Instagram thing, she repeated twice that oh, here, I will find the phraseology because it was quite bizarre. But she it was a very specific way that she worded it, and I don't want to mess it up because
Wow. Well, you look for that.
yeah.
Kendra says when Hunter told her not to knit her stuff, she got Hunter's address and mailed her books back with a note saying that she didn't know me, but she was judging me.
Good for you.
Like that's impressive. I give you credit there for that.
Mhm.
But I don't understand this whole other people do design similar stuff. I was accused of copying her once because she's not as original as she may believe. Um,
Yeah.
but see, this is the part that you guys miss because I cut it out when we don't have our quotes ready.
Right. There we go. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But we have comments to reply to, so that's an awesome bit. Okay, but she repeated twice that, you know, that okay. So she says at the end, abortion for me was a relief, and my life as well as that of my planned wanted children. And then and previously she says planned wanted, that the double thing of that. And wow, sorry, but just the idea that your intent makes a person's life worthwhile is,
Yeah,
well, I planned for you, therefore that works. And or I wanted you, and I hope next week looks good because
yeah, neither of my kids were planned. We like them. It worked out, and like literally, we were just gonna have one kid, and then I think it was New Year's Eve. I said, "Hey, guess what, honey?" Because things happen. But like we love our number one child, obviously. But now that we have both of them, there's no way that I can imagine what life would have been like without them.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, we planned on number one, but then when number two came, it was like now we're complete. They're totally different people. They're so much fun. Except that one's the barber, so I could do without them. But this whole like, I mean, the, things happen that people get abortions. People have things in their life that happen, and then later on they may regret the decisions they make. You know, everybody's like, she spent a lot of time calling pro-life people forced birthers.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really hate that term. And they act like if you're a Christian that you don't, that like, I don't even know how to say it. So I went to a Christian school, right? And in Bible class, I was probably like a junior or a senior because it was obviously a sensitive topic. But my Bible teacher's wife came in and talked to us. And she was telling us about how before she was a Christian, she had an abortion. And she talked about how even to this day, she still thinks about that baby and wonders what it would be like. And that it was something that now that she's changed her perspective, that she had to forgive herself about, and she had to, you know, God has comforted her about it. And so I'm not saying that like we're all perfect and that people don't make mistakes and they don't do things. I know I have a friend that was in an abusive relationship that used that because if she had had a child with him, she never would have left. Like I understand why people do things, and I think that they don't give us credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to the choice. You don't have to agree with somebody to love them, to respect them, to you're going to make choices that I'm not going to make, and that's part of life. And I just this whole forced birther, you know, it's you're
Right. Or the arguments that like, oh well, you only care for babies before they're born, you know, once they're born you don't want welfare programs or whatever. And which just it's like, oh, Christians don't care. It's like, well, in my circles, I know of a local crisis pregnancy center, you know, and they reach out and help people that I know many different Christian families who've adopted and other things like that. It's like, oh, well, you don't care. Like, no, we do care. But like just I mean, there's the value of human life and there's the value of hope for tomorrow that you it's well it's someone's life, but it's also scuttling tomorrow for today. And rather beyond scuttling, it's the things can never get better in this situation, so I'm going to end any potential good now. Which
yeah,
also
I
it
just
I mean that you have. I mean, there's a lot of different emotions in the abortion issue, and I understand that there's a lot of different that there's reasons and everything else, but it's there's an amount of sort of control, and it's about me. It's not about somebody else. That's not everyone. I know that's not everyone, but it does seem to play into it. Or I don't know, that there's kind of a lack of hope there, a lack of, I don't know.
no, I think you're right. And Kendra said, you know, can you imagine being the child of a mom who brags about aborting their siblings? Like, how freaking traumatic
Mm-hmm.
is that? And I, what she does is bragging. This, this, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you know the reason that they chose that between their children, they was because of money, and it was because of she had already had a C-section, and it could have been traumatic on her body. And I just don't, dude. If we waited until there was the right money or the right this, things would never happen. People sometimes it's kind of trial by fire. Like you come through the other side and you're like, look it, we did it. We're here. It's I don't know. But I just there needs to be strides made with like adoption and stuff. Adoptions are too expensive. They're
Oh,
too difficult to
definitely.
do. That's a different issue. But this forced birthers, like
Mhm.
nobody's forcing you to do anything. If you don't want to have a child, that's a choice you're making. There are
Mhm.
ways around it, like not doing it, or birth control, or it,
Mhm.
I don't know, but just so yeah, this craziness about I don't understand why the knitting community has to be this into this stuff. It's man,
Right.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. It's yeah. I don't know. It's. I
I'm
mean,
sure
and you're like, there's ways around it, and the first red flag up is going to be like, oh well, what about in situations of rape? And like, yes, that's horrible, and you know, obviously down the line stuff there, but it's someone has horribly mistreated and disrespected your physical autonomy that that see this again, this is where editing helps, but just the flip of like you are your own person and possession of your own soul and your own choices, and so's your child. And the future I can't get one in without quoting Stein. The future belongs to those who show up for it. And it's like you are not allowing that person to show up for the future. That it's that even, and there's the thing like, oh well, with the adoption thing being so poor, then these kids are just going to end up in foster homes and live terrible lives. And I'm like, well, who's to say that that kid can't have a chance then? That kid can't grow up and it's like, oh well, he or she, or that they'll just have a horrible life, and when I grew up it was bad and there was drugs and everything else. It's like, yeah, maybe the kid will be the same way, maybe, but also maybe they won't. You got to give them a choice, you got to give them a chance, they got to the free spirit of life. And I'm gonna shoehorn in a Chesterton quote that I read this week that was really good, um, because Chesterton gets better all the time. But he says the most dangerous thing in the world is to be alive. One is always in danger of one's life, but anyone who shrinks from this is a traitor to the great scheme and experiment of being. That, anyways, just like you got to go out there and do the thing, and you have to have the chance to do the thing. And
Right. You
you
have to have the chance to do the thing. But what kills me about this stuff, right?
know,
So, um, Michelle Williams, she was on Dawson's Creek. She's an actress. She's been in other stuff too.
okay.
Um, but she was part of this movement called Shout Your Abortion.
Oh,
and
yeah,
and so talking about how like she wouldn't have been a great actress and blah blah blah. Obviously she's super great because you don't know who she is, but
yeah.
um
Is she above or
she had
below?
one kid, I think, with Heath Ledger before he died.
Oh,
So you might kind of know who she is. But there's this whole movement of like shout your abortion, and we're supposed to just like applaud you telling me a story about how like you decided which kids you were gonna have. That one in the middle there could have been like cured cancer. We'll never know. Um, but then on the
or
flip side,
just really funny at parties. I need those people too, or not. Like,
um, yeah, Jennifer said maybe having the child will change their life. I mean, my life is completely different with my kids, and not in a bad way, just different. Um, but so we've got the people who are like, oh, respect my abortion and shout your abortion, and you have to agree and love this, and then on the flip side, they're going, get vaccinated, like how is this even the same? Like You can't have both of these ideas at the same time. It doesn't
I
work.
know it's my mask is for you, not for me. It's like, oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, well, you're literally killing me by not being vaccinated. I'm like, oh, I want to talk about literal killing. That's kind of
You're
awkward.
literally killing people. Oh, I don't know, man.
Ooh.
Um,
But yeah, it's a rough and emotional issue, but it's also a rough and emotional issue because I mean, you have sympathy with people who have had abortions because that is some. I mean, there's you can come to terms with it and accept and heal, but that is if you look what it is in the face, then it is incredibly difficult. It isn't, and then you have to come to terms with that. And I can see where it would be much easier to just no, I was in the right, look away, and that it's very you're you're committed at that point. And again, turning around and regretting and all of these things, it's a rough process. And it's very again, it's very emotional, it's very personal, and trying to brush it off as nothing is, well, like you said, it's flippant, but it's very, I don't know, it's rough. It's a bad deal. There. That's the end of my statement.
yeah, it's I don't the it situations like this just so highlight the hypocrisy.
Mhm.
And it amazes me that they can't see it. And but it's just the talking over you thing. It's I don't know, man. I don't know. But so next week, because I have to go finish getting ready for the shower and make 7 tassels.
Right.
But next week we are supposed to have Miss Happy Rose on. She is French. She is she has been working for like a year on a video about the stuff that happened on Ravelry, and so she's really excited about it. And the reason we didn't have her this week is because for some reason she was having trouble uploading it to YouTube, and she wanted us to see her video beforehand.
Right.
But hopefully next week we'll have Miss Happy Rose, and if we don't, hopefully we'll at least be slightly more put together.
Right.
But don't forget. Oh, thank you for the. He speaks French, sort of. Well, hopefully Miss Happy Rose will be speaking English because neither Anne nor I speak
No.
French.
Well, and that was part of the video that she was talking about wanting to do was to talk about the Ravelry thing in French because it's an American blow up. So if you're in France or I mean any other part of the world, then you're like, I don't really know what's going on. So she was taking the time to translate and other stuff
Yeah,
too.
and she was also saying that some of the very large designers just jumped on the bandwagon, and so that's funny that's why she wanted to do it because they only heard one part of the narrative, and so they want to change that. Um, but before we go, don't forget to check out our brand new sponsor, Chicken Lady Fiber Arts.
That's
She
right.
is, jeez. So Lynn is fantastic. We love her. We've had her on. She does really great colors, and she has a lot of U.S. yarn, and the stuff that's not from the U.S. is from the U.K. and Peru.
Mm-hmm. And she also does the nice little sample boxes, so you can. Yeah, they're super cool.
And
So you can.
order. I got like mini skeins too of a couple colorways so that I could see them in person because it's different. And
Right.
then touch different bases too, which I really like that she does.
Right. Yeah. So you can get the sample box. And so you can be like, I don't really know what I want to use for this sweater. So you can feel them and you can knit a little tiny bit and you can see how they work before committing to the, full sweater.
Yep. But she's got a discount code that is just for our people. It's PIK deplorables 20. So PIK deplorables 20 if you want to go get 20% off her yarn.
And who doesn't want to get 20% off yarn?
Probably going to go get 20% off her yarn.
Yeah.
But she is kind enough to sponsor us, so make sure you check her out. And I think next week, I don't know what that notice is, but I think next week we have our guest. And I hope that, oh yeah, I've got one feedback. All right. No.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us this morning, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.